I guess we'll go live at some stage there. So to our many listeners, welcome back to the Motus Podcast. With, is this our first international? Well,
Yes, definitely.
We've had Dom and people, but this is our first like across the pond, live in the moment guest.
Yeah,
Jesse Flair.
Oh, I went over. Spoke
we
over
fucked
you.
it.
Oh
but
no!
Yes, welcome, Jesse.
What is up? How are you guys?
We're very well. We're fucking glad that you're keen to do this now rather than in 3 hours' time.
Yeah. It's only 10. It's only 10, but both of us are.
He's
turning me into an old man.
It's 10:30 in the UK. And Jesse, what time is it with you?
Right now it's 2:30 p.m.
2:30 p.m. And just to clarify, you've just moved into your new house today, right?
Well, yesterday we moved in, woke up, and there's still boxes everywhere.
Yeah,
Jesus.
It's not exactly a fast process, is it?
No, definitely not.
No, so thank you for coming on in the midst of all the chaos, as well as also big news is that you're having a baby.
I'm having a baby.
That's well, I mean, it's not mind blowing because it's like, I mean, it's life, and a lot of people have babies, but it's very cool.
It's happening to a lot of people now.
Yeah. It's like Jason and Emily, Philip, and everyone's growing up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like the Tempest family out here, there's like, I don't know, I think there's like 3 or 4 different people that are like due right around the same month. So I don't even know what's happening.
Really?
Yeah, it's like it's insanity. For me, obviously, it's a long time coming. Me and my wife Bree, we've been together for 19 years. So like, it's long overdue. But in the terms of life and goals, and chasing the dream and riding the wave, it's been like we just kept putting it off, and then we decided like, well, it's either now or never. So let's do this thing.
Well, that's the thing. I think in our lifestyle it is hard because like none of us are kind of earning that like nice solid consistent salary where it's like that day-to-day income, and therefore it's so hard to be able to be like, cool, now we're comfortable, like now it's time to have a kid, like especially with your fucking crazy life. Yeah,
but if parkour has taught me anything, it's that we will always make it work, and like that's that's the beauty of the situation, is it'll never not work out, whether it works out, in the dream state or you muscle through it. At the end of the day, it's just life, man.
Yeah, you'll always adapt. I just realized in these show notes, I was thinking today about kind of what we could talk about. And do you remember the first time that you and me met?
I know. No. Where do we first meet? Because I can picture like Jamie. I remember.
What year are we talking? Are we talking before?
It wasn't even that. I mean, it was long ago, but it wasn't even that long ago. So I think I was always aware of you because you were Jesse and tutorials and everything, which we can kind of scan over it shortly. But it was the Air Whip Challenge.
2013.
I can't remember.
Was it the one with when it was outside?
Because
I watched that on.
It was the one where it rained, and we went out, and I was there, and I was filming it, and Jamie was there, and I remember seeing Corey and Jesse, and I was like, oh, there's Jesse, but like, I don't think I'd quite built up the like, there's Jesse, the kind of cheesy American guy. Like, I just knew it was Jesse. Like, I don't think I'd even like paid enough attention to you to sort of build up that like feeling that a lot of like, I think English European people had around that time. Yeah. But I was like, oh, it's Jesse, and didn't really sort of think anything of it. And then that night we went out to some random bar that was like quite far away, and somehow we ended up on a table with you, and we bonded for about 2 hours maybe. You, me, Jamie and Corey. Talking about Jacob Jensen.
Oh shit, the whole takeover deal.
If you're yeah, the takeover and everything else. And it was just this amazing thing of just like, wow, we've all shared this experience with this one guy, which you don't know.
Is that the guy who
the Danish
repeatedly told me about just negative things?
I mean, I don't want to bitch too much on the podcast, but it was, and that was our first time. And I remember like after that evening being like, that was a really fun night with Jesse.
It's like a common occurrence. I think, I think one of the big things I've even learned just from being friends with you is this, like, a lot of the differences. Like, us being on tour gave us a lot of time to talk about, like, the separate state of mind between like the American culture of like needing to write, I'm the first person to do this, the award winner of this. Like it's all like very, very self-promoting. And you guys are very like humble in your resumes, if you even ever have a resume. Like we're brought up like you need a resume, you know?
I feel like though you think that, but I think a lot of people, English people, behind closed doors, they do think about themselves too much. I actually think that. Yeah, like they're kind of like, the Americans want to name all this stuff, but like at their homes,
it's the people are the same, but it's the output is different.
Yeah,
I think. And this brings me on to something that I was going to kind of talk about. And I mean, all right, let's scroll it back shortly a little bit, I guess. But everyone's aware of Jesse. Like if you're not, then I don't know how you're listening to this podcast. But Jesse obviously made. When were your years where you kind of first like, not blew up, but like started making a serious impact, like the tutorial years? Like when was that? I'm not kind of move to LA and start the hustle.
I'm not sure. Honestly, like my whole thing started even in New York. Like I came out of the gate like swinging in terms of YouTube and all that. Like I was very early stages. Like you can go back to my very first video, and I think it's like next video at 10 subscribers.
Yeah, and I remember this. Yeah,
like the whole. I just grew up in this, like, how do I market myself? What is, like, a creative way to get people to follow me and allow me to do the thing that I love to do, whether that's making videos or going to train or whatever. It always kind of revolved around that. Even in terms of Break.com back in the day, like, I was making fake prank videos and selling it to Break as a way for me to, like, be a paid videographer and get to play and do the Jackass-style stunts.
Well, okay, so this is the thing, is that, like, there's two levels to this. This is kind of what I mean in the terms of the output is like, I think everyone's the same, but I think there is this like sort of, especially in America, there's this more of this output to like put on and to hustle and to like.
I think there's more do. I think there's just a lot of people here in England don't do.
Yeah,
they sit upon their dreams, if you want to put it that way. Like, do you know what I mean? They just don't get things rolling.
But for you, I think I know you very, very well, and I know that 100% with some of the media that you have put out over the years, you have essentially enhanced elements of your sort of persona to become marketable, rather than, I think when you, like we were saying, when you kind of look at English people and Europeans, it's like, it's a lot more like just like, this is me, if you don't like it, deal with it kind of thing. And a lot of people don't like it, so it doesn't go so far. But so has there always been a conscious decision to like market yourself, I guess? And that sounds very like cut and dry, but like it's that work ethic to like sell, I guess.
Yeah, no, and again, like it was never even a decision, I don't think. Like I was just brought up with this state of mind of being like, if you skate, I need to shoot the dopest skate videos so that I can get sponsors and sell the image of me being the dopest skater, I grew up with that, and I don't know if that was like an upbringing thing or just culturally, but yeah, I don't even have to say that it was a decision. It still isn't. Like sometimes I literally do Insta stories and this fucking voice comes out and I'm like, hey guys, blah, blah, blah. And like I've done it multiple times now where halfway through speaking, I stop that voice and I'm like, sorry, I don't know why I'm talking like that. And it's just this really weird, like, performance mode that goes on. And I think it's just the idea of like turning up the volume so that people pay attention.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, is you get people to fucking pay attention. Like, and I think you've had a huge amount of kind of sort of haters over the years. And it's, when you are so much in people's sort of like when you're in everyone's eyes like that and you're in everyone's minds, like you're gonna get people who are like, fuck this guy, like he's pushing himself out there too much. But at the end of the day, the one I think I actually wrote something about this, because obviously you sent us a load of those shoes, so we did a shoe review which will be coming out next week. In the blog post that I put alongside that, I think I said something along the lines of like, you cannot deny, no matter what you think about Jesse, is that like he will constantly put himself out there and like constantly put the work in, and like he will constantly be making an impact when you're probably not. Like, and that's the thing, is like everything you've done, you might dip out for 6 months when you've got a big job on and things, but like every project you're doing, you are fucking in everyone's eyes, and you're like, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and you're unavoidable when you look at the sport. And it's sick because it's just like, it's legacy shit.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think anything I do, I'm literally making my target bigger. Like, the more I'm in your face, the more I have people that are willing to throw shit at it. But I think, it's been interesting because recently I'm like, am I just fading away? Like, because recently I don't feel like I've been getting the hate train as much as past years, or am I like, have I just proved enough to people that I'm like in this for the right reasons and trying to do good things for the sport when most people are getting lazy and fading away? I don't know.
Nah, I mean, I think sort of maybe slightly less on, I think you're maybe less, not consistent, but like when the YouTube game was heavy, that was like weekly. It was like weekly Jesse is in your eyes, and therefore I think and that's where you get all the comments and things. I think now your projects are slightly more, they're sort of staggered, but when they come, they're like a fucking
I think they're more like long form though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, you're just thinking for the future instead of just like kind of now fast paced, kind of like, this is what I'm doing right now. It's you know what I mean?
And also it's like thinking. You and parkour are more established. It's when something's new and there's that kind of like, oh, I like this, or well, it's one or the other. It's, I mean, even when parkour was like more new and more exciting and sort of some people knew about it and some people didn't, some people liked it, some people didn't, that's when the haters are a lot more vocal. Because it's like, yeah, and now it's like you're established, like you're not going anywhere. People know you're there. Some people might not like what you do, but like, I think, yeah, and that's, I think that's probably why you're kind of probably getting less of the haters. But I don't think you're fading away. I mean, you've definitely been doing a lot more work, but then you're fucking, you're a stuntman. You need to work, like.
Yeah, I think a part of it might also be that the projects themselves have gotten bigger. And then what I'm not doing anymore is talking about projects that people don't see the product of yet. So like, even like this film or the tour, like I just worked on, even getting the tour organized took me about 1.5 to 2 years of just like planning decks, trying to get sponsors, building the art, and then it was all of a sudden I was like, we're doing this tour, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit.
Rather than like,
how's this? This is huge. You can't deny that it's not a thing because I'm showing you a tour bus while I'm announcing the fact that we're leaving for tour,
Yeah.
So
rather than the kind of like year build up of like, next week a new teaser's coming for the something, like it's big and it's purple. What is it? Kind of thing. Like, yeah. But that's the thing, and undeniable is the other word. Like I think the lace up tour. I mean, the Off the Edge tour. I mean, we had a really good conversation a few weeks ago. But the Off the Edge tour was huge, and then the lace up tour was just like, it's the fact that no one can match it. Like, and no one has matched it. Even since the Off the Edge tour, which was 3 years ago, no one has come in and even tried to do something even half the caliber of that. And then you're like, cool, yeah, let's do the Lace Up tour, which is like double the Off the Edge tour.
Well, I mean, here's the beauty of having Off the Edge was that we learned a lot, but it wasn't just produced by me. That one took a lot of people. I mean, Corey was such a big part of that. Bree, my wife, literally was like our tour manager while we were in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, you were there when we were figuring out so much of the elements. We were sitting in LA freaking out how we're going to make things work. And like, for me, there was this part of not only From Here to There, the film, but also Off the Edge, the tour, that like I started to doubt whether or not I had enough of a hand in the creation of it. So when it came to producing the Lace Up tour, it was like, can I do this by myself? Can one athlete, one person who's just passionate enough, reach out to 25 gyms or whatever amount of gyms it actually took to get people to say yes and work out deals that would make me not spend my entire life savings? Is that possible? And like Sydney kind of helped me here and there just because she saw how much work I took on. But at the end of the day, I almost like started pushing her away because I was like, dude, I just want to prove to myself that that I can do something this big and this impactful and this important to me. And that's, and then it worked, and we did the tour, and I literally drove the bus the entire time. Sydney jumped in the seat once or twice, and I was in charge of calling every gym before we went there. I did the art for the tour bus. I got the sponsorships. I did like the decks, everything that you can imagine went into producing this big of a project was me. And I think walking away from it, it was like, holy shit, like if I can do this, what else can I do? And not only that, if I can do this, what else can everyone else who's actually really passionate in the sport create and do? And that kind of brings me to an interesting point about where we are right now. We're having a lot of these competitions like Air Whip fade away. And I think the sort of second generation OGs now who put in a lot of work of creating events, created enough stuff for the current athletes to feel comfortable. And what's happening is all that stuff's fading. And I think it's a really interesting transitional state. And whether we're going to dip down pretty hard right now or not is reflective of what happened in skateboarding in some way. But I'm really wondering if people are going to step up and actually start hosting their own shit and trying to build events.
For sure. I think that's the thing. Is a lot of people do get comfortable, and then you see. I mean, there's so many sort of people who 3 years ago maybe were like the sort of the top of the game. Especially there's so many athletes I can think of, like European athletes who were kind of really prevalent in the competitions, really prevalent in the media, and now they're all kind of slowly fading away because I think they got complacent with what was going on in the sport, competition-wise, event-wise. They got the kind of free travel and the like standard stuff, but there was no drive to like...
They never took the lead, really.
Take the lead and push bigger than that. And then now life has caught up, and like they're all in their kind of late 20s, and it's like, oh shit, like I've got to kind of maybe get a normal job and things. And you do need these people who are just pushing the fucking train forward, like even if no one else wants to keep the thing moving.
You can see that though in a lot of European athletes. When you see like the competitions like Air Whip and you see all the beasts and you're like, oh my gosh, like they're going to go somewhere, but like just the movement can't really take you those places unless they are going to do something like what Philip did and what Marcus did. Like someone actually has to take over afterwards. Like who's going to take over Full Love Movement when they can't, events like that.
Full Love Movement's a good one because like the people who run it, Mark and things, are not trying to be athletes anymore. They're trying to be businessmen, and it's like we do need these people to step up, like Jesse, and it just like it's the stepping up and like
who's going to do that though? Who's going to be like
But I'd like to think that I'm kind of moving towards that path, but it's a hard road.
No, and I definitely see that you and Giles, like even just the Motus projects, and you guys like are all taking on pieces now, and I think what gets scary is that you look at something like the Lace Up Tour and how big of a project it was, or like Air Whip and how insane of a competition it became, and it becomes really daunting. But one of the big things we talked about on tour, and at every one of the stops, we sat down for about half an hour to an hour with each one of these communities and just talked about things like this. And one of my biggest things was we tried to host a little competition at every jam we did, very simply to show like, look, it is not hard to do competitions. It is so easy. You guys, there's already a gym space. You're already right here. You don't even need that much money as a prize. Like people just want an opportunity to compete, to test themselves, to see how they deal with the pressure and if they show up or if it's something they don't like. Like I think it's really important right now, but less important than people feeling it is just the progression of it. It's very, very simple to start something. And that's like, if fucking parkour has taught us anything, it should be that everything is about progressions. And don't look at Air Whip like, how do we do that? How do we create that? It's more like, how do I host a local street comp? Like back in rollerblading days, like IMYTA is still one of my favorite competitions I ever went to. And all it was a bunch of skaters showed up at a spot and some random dudes were like, $200 for the first person that laces this ridiculous combo, or like, and IMYTA stood for I Match Your Trick Association. And they just knocked people off and they got to finals and they were just like, and it just crowds of people, and it wasn't hosted at an event space. It was just like, yo, let's go out in the streets and do this where we normally do it. But fuck it, let's hype it up. Get a couple, like, everybody throw in $20 and let's just host some crazy shit and build some crazy media so that the rest of the world can see how dope our culture is.
Yeah, it's weird because sick. I remember like having like sort of you and Corey having conversations like this on Off the Edge. I mean, Off the Edge I just still is one of my sort of top 3 trips I've ever done in my life, and I'm fucking eternally grateful for that experience. And I remember sort of being the kind of the cameraman and things, and you and Corey, I think that tour there was a lot of stress on that. And I remember kind of conversations, and Corey was always so driven to like push in that direction, and had some really kind of passionate ideas about competitions and things that sometimes I'd listen to them and I'd be like, it just sounds too driven to be kind of like competitive and showy and things. But at the same time, like, I think now over the last few years, like, it's, and I don't know if this is just my head maturing or just seeing the way the sport is going, like, it doesn't need to just be about the competition for competitive sake, but it is, as you said, it's creating an event that you can then produce media of, that then the outside world can see. Like, an average training video like is cool, but it's an event. Because I mean, I don't know, I go to the barbers and I get my hair cut and they ask me about parkour, and they always ask about competitions, because it's something that people can look at and gauge compared to like...
It's easy relatable, isn't it? Because every sport can have a competition.
Exactly.
Like,
Whereas like a styled video, it's just like, unless you're into that style or that style of movement, you can't gauge it as well. Whereas people want to know like who's the best.
Well, you also can't get a sense of community. Like, if you watch a competition and you see loads of different people all around the world and you don't know what parkour is, but you're seeing that, you're like, okay, this is like an official thing. This is actually like a proper sport. Yeah. Whereas if it's just a video, you're just, you can't really, it's just a few people in the same area. Really,
yeah. But I think, and just to sort of throw it back to your tour, I mean, the film is obviously going to show this to a degree, is that have you... me and Keelan have seen an early draft of the film, which we both fucking loved.
It was very, very good.
And then I remember we spoke about, because the film doesn't actually include that much about the jams, right? Or have you since changed that?
No, so one of my goals, I mean, really, when I set out on the tour, I had 2 goals. One was to create a film. And I didn't necessarily know exactly what that meant. I did already kind of come up with the idea of calling it Bound by Movement, because I knew I was going to have a variety of athletes that don't normally train together come together from different parts of the world to be a part of this tour and to go out and train and shoot. So I saw it as a really beautiful opportunity to show how the movement literally connects us. So that was kind of the goal. And then the more that we got into the tour, the more I realized, like, all right, I don't want this to be Off the Edge. I don't want it to be this like repetitive cycle of like, show up at a jam, see the tricks, go to this thing. I wanted to create the Nike sort of SB skateboard film where you just see skaters show up at spots. I wanted it to feel like, did I get a clip today that's worthy of the film, and I think what we ended up with was like this really beautiful look into the tour itself and how it is experienced from sort of the quote unquote like pro athlete point of view.
No, and I think you encapsulated that fucking amazingly. Like, having experienced Off the Edge, which was a slightly different style of tour because it was a lot more fast paced. There wasn't as much breathing room in between. But as you said, it was like very formulaic. It was turn up, copy and paste. Like, each event was kind of the same formula. Whereas the film that you've created is such a sick look into just like its lifestyle.
It was refreshing as fuck as well, because I didn't know it was coming, because I saw all the like vlogs when you were doing the tour, and I was thinking, is it like, they were good vlogs, like they were entertaining, but I was like, is this the only form of media going to come out like from this tour? And then I had no clue about the film, but now the it was banging. It was really good. Thank you.
But I do want to say, like, I did, after talking to Giles, and I kind of knew it already, I expect people to be like, but where's the jams? So one thing we are doing to combat that is that we're doing like a 40-minute featurette, literally the Flair Lace Up Tour film. And it will be like, if you buy the film on Vimeo, one of the special features literally is a whole nother film. So it's kind of like a double feature for the purchase of buying the actual film instead of just renting it.
That's sick.
So and
I think, I mean, for me, I think I said this when I spoke to you, like the only reason I was so keen to see the Jam stuff was because I got to witness one firsthand. And it was the fact that, like, I mean, we didn't hold a competition at that one because it was a smaller one, but it was the talk that you, like, I mean, you essentially called everyone together at the end, and it was I can't remember what you referred to it as, but I mean, it was, you just opened it up and you just tried to have a conversation that just, I guess the aim was to just sort of inspire the kids a bit. And I don't know what, we chatted for like half an hour, 40 minutes and just had a good fucking talk about the future of the sport, like what some of these kids who are in this gym and incredibly like talented kids can be doing or being wanting to do it and stuff like this. And it was like, I don't know how much of that needs to be filmed and then put out because it's more of a special organic moment to be part of. But the fact that you were doing that at every single tour stop is, I think, incredibly powerful and like something that needs to be kind of talked about or understood from an outside perspective to a degree. Because I don't know, I think it's so easy to look at a big flashy tour and just think like, Jesse's got loads of money, he's just doing this to have a load of fun and things. But it's like, I mean, you do genuinely fucking care. Like, you really do fucking care.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things I was able to bring to this tour, being there in person with all these different communities and people, and was just this idea of vulnerability and like bringing the fact that like, dude, 100%, I'll tell you right now, I am not the best parkour athlete in the world. I'm not even close to the top fucking 50 movers in the world. But even though I might represent myself on my resume and be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 I know where I stand, and I never thought that I was the best, and I know like my goal has always been to bring something new and to push the sport in a direction that other people aren't taking it. Because if I see
still haven't seen anyone else do 180 to cork at Baby 45 though.
Yeah, that is grotty. That is
like still no one's done that. It's fucked.
I'm sure someone can do it if they were like, you could be the second person in the world, and then they'll double cork it, and I'll be like, oh cool, I don't really give a shit. Like, it was big for me. I was glad I did it. But I think so much right now we're stuck in this like chase thing where you see all these different athletes chasing the same shit, and like movement in general is so vast. Like the reason why you're seeing me do weird shit is because I'm trying to provoke the idea of like variation. The whole cess slide thing is, even the shin slide thing, it's never a trick by itself, but one day someone's going to connect it into the sickest shit and be like, yo, that was fucking dope. It's just like, if I see another double side flip and that's like someone's goal for the last 3 years of their training, like, it's not worth it. There's so much, and that's why the beauty of like the mix of some of the stuff Pasha's doing and Kalen Chan and these guys that are like getting really creative, but not in even the most like dangerous double, triple, quad twisting, whatever. Like, a simple, like, I'm looking for like, what is like the simplest trick that's no one's thought about, because there's thousands of them still. And like, that's what's going to separate us from the gymnastics space,
That's sick.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for those who aren't aware, Jesse had, I mean, it's been spoken about a bit, I guess, but I mean, you came from a fucking hardcore rollerblading background, right?
Yeah, I grew up in action sports in general. Like, I literally spent most of my childhood dirt jumping and skating and surfing and riding motorcycles.
Yeah. But is it still, where's that video of you rollerblading? Is it still on your Facebook page?
Oh, I'm sure it's up there, yeah.
It's like, if you hunt through Jesse's Facebook page, there is this video of him rollerblading, and the second and he's doing fucking like layout backflips over huge quarter pipes and things. Like, the second you see that video, you go, that's why Jesse's style is what Jesse's style is. Like, it connects, like it just clicks, because it's so, you've just, you come into it from that like exterior action sports mindset and try to do other shit that you haven't just seen somebody do something on YouTube doing parkour. You've taken those other influences, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. Since the very beginning of me training, like there was a moment where people referred to parkour as like a martial arts and like and the whole sort of discipline side of it. And I was like, this is a motherfucking action sport, bro. I am like literally flipping off of a concrete block onto a road in New York City right now. Like, how are you going to tell me this is like I'm doing martial arts? Chill out.
Yeah, I can't lie though. I've always struggled with the kind of like, oh, it's a discipline.
That word does annoy me.
Discipline just makes you sound like you're wearing a fucking...
Well, it makes...
Like, standing on a mountaintop. Yeah.
Disciplining your body, like...
Yeah, you know, which I mean, you could argue, we are doing that, but it's just fucking fun. It's just so
sport.
Good. It's an official sport in England. It's a sport. Yeah. I mean, what are we gonna fucking go into? I mean, so it's a hard one because you've got so much of your past that is like worth talking about and shining more of a light on and getting some insight into, but then also like you're constantly moving forward at a fucking crazy rate. So I've got so many things kind of written down, but I don't really know what's the most.
I know what I want to talk about.
Right, what's Keelan want to talk about?
You've got written down here Uncharted,
the game. Which
Sarah was playing it.
Sarah was literally just playing on our PlayStation, which
you did. So you did some of the. How would you explain
it? It's mocap, isn't it?
So if you're playing Uncharted 4, then you're literally
this was. Yeah. Oh, so this was Uncharted 3.
Okay, so
you need to go check out 4 because like the amount. I mean, we spent years developing the movement, the climbing, the actual gameplay of it is crazy. Like, and for me, I'm not a big video game player. Like, it's just I don't know. I love it. It's cool, but I don't really have time or want to spend time inside doing that while I can be outside doing it. But playing the game for me, and I went through the whole game, beat it, and was like, it was freaking awesome. Like, the game is crazy. But for me, it was even crazier because imagine playing a video game where when you jump with the character, it's literally jumping like you would jump because it is actually jumping. Like, it was kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, I remember coming to you. I was in LA and staying with you, and you had to go off and do an extra day, and I think I went to the gym or something, and then in the evening I was talking to you about it, and you were like, yeah, they had this like Jeep in the middle of the room, and I just had to get into the Jeep loads of different times pretending to be an old man.
Yeah, well,
and it was like they just captured you from all the different angles and shit. Like
the dopest part. I mean, when it comes to like jobs, I talk about it all the time. Like I still don't consider myself like a stunt man. Like, it's not. There are so many people in Los Angeles that's all they train is fights, falls, wires, fire. Like, they literally go out and train being a stunt man. I have just been very fortunate where like my movement, all of the media and marketing that I've done has kind of provoked the fact that people know what I'm capable of, so they're willing enough to either bring me into a job or past jobs. People have spoken highly enough about the work that I've done to kind of keep that momentum. But with That's mocap, cool. It's literally this like really, really beautiful thing because it's everything we work on, but in a like, I don't know, even like a hyper state where like, okay, I would do the Jeep thing, come in and out of this every door, go over it, all these different vaults, tricks, whatever, as the main character, Drake. And then all of a sudden, they'd throw a patch on me and say, all right, now you're Sully, who's
the old man,
20 years older. He's still very agile, but you need to make it look different. All right, well, my whole training just went into like, now I can't just vault over something. I have to go, okay, he's getting in the Jeep. The older guy is going to use his arm more often. So I'll pull up on the top bar to get over, and like everything almost has like an extra point of contact so that this guy maybe isn't as strong or as stable, and just creating like sort of the rules of like playing that guy. So just like being, someone who is absolutely in love with movement in general, like motion capture is I don't know, it's just the best place to experiment your skills and just the mentality of it.
It sounds like it comes close to like acting then, because that old man scenario is kind of tricky if you don't know how to sort of change your body posture, like how to show a completely different, person.
Yeah, and I think like all of us though, like if I threw you in a room and told you like you don't have any lines, but I need you to act like this soldier walking through, like I think naturally, because we are so in like connecting our minds and our physical bodies, that like it's easy for us to play in those characters. And I'm working on a new game right now. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it. I think I can say it.
We lost you for a microsecond there. What was that?
I'm working on a new video game right now, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it. But I'm pretty sure it's out. I'll just say it because who cares? But I'm working on The Last of Us Part 2, which is like a long time coming.
Oh shit!
Sick. Yeah.
And that's cool. It's been cool because they've just been using me like all over the place, whether I'm doing this character, that character, this thing or that thing, and so I'm getting to physically act a lot, and it's just like, dude, it's fun. It's a good time.
So, I mean, sort of talking more on the acting thing, you just literally, 2 days ago, were at the premiere for the new X-Men film, which you are officially kind of Nightcrawler's stunt double, right?
Yeah, I've stunt doubled Nightcrawler now in 2 films, Apocalypse and here in Dark Phoenix. And yeah, I would have to say that the experience I just had was like one of those very, very genuine, like hit it right on the head, dream come true situations where like, I don't know if you guys ever did like vision boards or made goals, like lists of things. Like one of the things on my vision board was this like red carpet pose where you have all the photographers like taking their picture.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very interesting because I was supposed to move that day. We were in LA for about 9 years. I just moved outside of LA by like an hour. So it's not like I'm really out, like I didn't leave LA, but I kind of did, right? And like,
I mean, driving in LA by an hour, you're probably still about 5 minutes from your house, right?
No, because I'm like a genuine, I'm a genuine hour out. So
hour. Yeah. Okay.
If I left during rush hour, it'd probably take me like 3 hours to get to LA or something.
Yeah. Fuck.
But yeah, you come out to the city in Hollywood, and you're like, all right, like. The Chinese theater is where they do all these giant premieres.
The big ones.
The big one, like the biggest ones. And like the sort of subconscious visualization I had was like, one day I'm going to walk a red carpet on, this thing. And
yeah.
And that's the experience I just had. And it was crazy. Like they gave me a handler, I signed in, they have a name plate where they go and they show all the photographers, and you get the whole experience where people are literally like, Jesse over here, Jesse turn left, Jesse right side, all right, look forward, all right, go here. And then like I was like, fuck that. So I'm just throwing up devil horns, and I'm like, I'm gonna do a flip, all right. And I like run, do a flip. Like, oh my god, can you do that again, I was like, I'm gonna do it one more time, okay. Like and then they walked us through like a whole circle of press, and like there's a bunch of different people that represent different companies, like IMAX and all these different little places where they might show this sort of live on the red carpet sort of situation. And my handler would just go along and be like, this is Jesse Flair, he's the stunt double for Nightcrawler. Would you like to interview him? And, some people would be like, no, I don't give a shit. And then other people would be like, oh, that's dope. Yeah, let's talk to him.
Yeah, depending on who they are, yeah. That's sick. But I mean, sorry, carry on.
No, so, I mean, it was a dream come true. And like, I've become so close with so many of the actors, like, but as a stuntman, in this side of it, like you're always kind of hesitant to like cross the line. And I literally hung out a ton with a good group of them, but like it's dope. So
you mean like in terms of like, oh, am I actually kind of in their circle of like friendship, or am I just like a
or do I feel like another person that's trying to looch off the idea that they're famous, and like that's it becomes like a weird thing. So for me, it was the experience of being there at the premiere, and like James McAvoy, I just sent him a pair of the Flair Pro Model shoes because him and his son just saw me on Ninja Warrior 2. So I had shot them all like an email, just being like, yo, new shoes just dropped, if anybody wants a pair. I sent them all personally messages, but I was like, let me know. So when he wrote me back, it was just like, yeah, dude, I'd love a pair from me and my son. And then Nicholas Hoult, I don't know if you saw that, he was promoting them. He plays Beast in the movie.
Yeah, he's a fucking gang. Did you ever watch Skins?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like in England, like I grew up on, well, I was kind of, I don't know, I was like 16, 17, so, but like Skins was the kind of the big thing when I was in my youth, so he was obviously main star in that, so
yeah,
he's a cool guy to see kind of continue his success.
Yeah, and he's literally, like, he's so down to earth. Like, I talked to him at the premiere too, he's like, yeah, because I was like, yo, thanks for plugging the shoes. He's like, literally, like, that's when you have the platform, why not use it? He's like pretty much saying like,
yeah.
Of course I'll promote people I love. And but yeah, it was good running into Sophie Turner. Like, we spent a lot of time on the movie together, and like name dropping, because it's it's kind of crazy. It's just like I'm in this like crazy state of like, who am I? I'm a parkour athlete that's like doing things. Like, I have this new Fox TV show coming out right now, probably next February. And that's another opportunity. Like, we did 10 episodes of a TV show called Ultimate Tag. That's like,
because that's now the name's been released now, right?
Yeah, the name has been released. It's funny because I heard there's a little bit of drama going on because of, obviously, World Chase Tag is this idea of like parkour tag, and Ultimate Tag is a very similar concept, but what I think World Chase Tag doesn't realize is that this circumstances of like the entire concept has been like turned way up, and like
it's like on steroids.
Yeah,
right?
it's like on steroids, and we're wearing like costumes and shit. Like, most of the people are wearing like, they look like wrestlers or like weird shit.
I mean, it's like new age gladiators, isn't it? From what I've seen and what you told me.
That's absolutely the best way to explain it. It's like, we are the gladiators. Contestants come play against us in a game of extreme tag. And by extreme, we're talking like domes that are floating 25 feet off the air, like up in the air. Jesus. Over like an airbag where like literally you can go on top of it, like striding rails on top, or 3 levels of like crazy plexiglass and stuff, or you can swing under it and do like monkey bars or laches as you're trying to get away. And like,
yeah.
It's a crazy show.
Who else would be playing at the same time? Would it be other free runners?
So our pro taggers, we got 4 Tempest athletes were ended up being in the pro tag team. Josh Yaden, and then Sydney Olsen, myself, and Corbin Reinhart. And then there's like a whole slew of like incredible like movement artists / characters just from like social media.
Austin Ray and people like that.
Yeah, Brooke Entz, who's like one of the #1 female CrossFit. I know she's won the CrossFit Games a couple times. She's absolute beast and a beautiful person. But yeah, the contestants are a mix. It's like there's a couple parkour people mixed in there. There's a couple like Olympian like runners and sprinters and stuff that came in. Like, it was cool.
Sick. Yeah, I'm excited for that. The only thing I was going to go back talking about the X-Men stuff is I remember seeing recently that you were sort of saying that you got to implement sort of some of your styles of movement into the character, which is, I mean, I assume that's kind of in the same way that when like Will Spencer was doing the Spider-Man stuff, it was kind of like they based like it off more of like, how does Will walk, how does Will move, rather than like, oh, how does the main actor move, to just make it seem as genuine as possible. And do they do a kind of similar thing there?
Yeah, I think more so the actor that I'm doubling, his name's Cody Smith McPhee.
Yeah,
he's such a like. I mean, at this point, we've become extremely close friends, and he's just such a giving person. And like from very early on, he pretty much was like, "Yeah, when you're doing this stuff, like you have full range of like how Nightcrawler moves." And
yeah, that's sick.
You know, for me, as it coming from a kid who literally played in his front yard, like picking comic book characters out and be like, right, I'm gonna go play like this guy right now, and like, you know,
like now you are that guy.
I'm literally in full makeup on a set that will like absolutely blow your mind, and then all cameras are on you, and all the pressure is like, and 3, 2, 1, go, you know, and you're like, okay, here we go.
That's sick. And actually, I just remembered the most important stunt double. No matter, even if you fucking go on to double, I don't know, the most famous person in the world. I mean, to be honest, you have peaked. You are fading away, because the moment you peaked was when you doubled cricket.
Cricket.
Cricket from It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia.
What? Really?
I've shown you the clip where he's doing the descents down the balconies.
Oh shit! Yes.
You might have been.
Yeah,
drunk.
that was before. Remember. That was before I watched it. You introduced me to it.
When I found out you were doubling cricket and I saw a photo of you in the makeup, I was so fucking happy. And then to see the clips as well, and they're just so ludicrous. It's amazing.
It's pretty funny because I don't know how I ended up telling you. Somehow we must have randomly connected again. I told you I was doing it. You freaked out. So I brought the black on black Motus shirt to set while I was in makeup, and then took a picture for you and sent.
Yeah. With a big fucking scar down your face, like a crackhead.
That's so good.
Oh, it made me so happy.
Yeah, I mean that was a fun one because the comedy of those sort of TV shows is they don't want me to downplay my skill. Most of the time you come in and you're doing something it looks a little too good. Can you make it look less skillful? And you're like, why did you even hire someone that can do this? But for the comedy stuff, they're always just nah, do whatever you want. For that, I had to dive roll out the building through that
was it. A
very small window that the glass fucking on this window was the thinnest glass. It was super old. And they're like, just whatever you do, don't let your foot hit the window. And it's one of those windows that opens up outward. So as you're dive rolling, there's 2 foot of window. If your heel still comes up, you're going to clip it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, here we go. But it's all good.
No, so good. But yeah, I mean, let's take it back to Bound by Movement. So just to sort of, if anyone hasn't worked it out yet, you did the Lace Up tour, which, I mean, I feel like we should talk about that more just because it was fucking such a huge undertaking. But I mean, a massive deal. I mean, how long was that tour? 3 months almost.
Well, the actual being on the road was 2 months. 63 days is what we ended up. The last event was on the 63rd day, yeah.
And, I mean, did you buy that tour bus? I can't remember.
So I bought it. I've already sold it. Yeah. But that was just the tour bus alone is one of the biggest hurdles I had to... Actually, we should talk about that because there's a funny little twist to that story.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I think this is nothing here is fucking cheap, and it's all coming out of your pocket, which is
surely it just costs a lot of money to put the vinyl or the graphics on the side of that.
Oh yeah, just the vinyl alone with a 20% discount or something was $8,000.
Yeah, which is I mean,
that's scary.
Yeah,
most people wouldn't pay that for a fucking minibus.
But here's, I mean, if you really dial back to what am I buying? What I was paying for was the ability to pitch every other sponsor that I was able to bring in that they were going to have a sizable logo on this bus, right? So each one of the sponsors is essentially coming in to help fund that idea without them even really knowing it. But the bus itself, so one of my goals was listen, we can rent something or we can buy something. If we rent it, I'm going to be so extremely nervous that if something happens, I'm going to have to buy this piece of shit bus or whatever. So I went to numerous places to look at rental buses. They were all pieces of junk. My wife is bringing me food right now.
Oh,
that was awesome. No, she can't hear you. Giles is going to say hi. She said hi. Okay.
Oh, she's still there. Can you ask her what's the plan?
Babe. What? Giles wants to know, what's the plan? I don't know. You'll be able to hear it on my mic, Shima.
Probably something offensive, I imagine.
So the inside joke there is when we were on the European tour, and Bree was doing the tour management stuff pretty much for us. Giles' number one question, pretty much every 5 minutes was, Bree, what's the plan? What are we doing? What's the plan? What's the plan?
We'd be standing around at a train station, people would be getting coffee. I'd be like, Bree, what's the plan? She'd be like, Giles, fuck off.
Wow.
So the bus thing, honestly, it was I knew that renting a bus really wasn't going to work. But at the end of the day, renting a bus still would have cost us about $11,000 or some crazy number.
Yeah, and then you just can't.
And that's just
chill. Can
that's
you?
gone.
Like,
Plus, but then we also have to wrap the rented tour bus. So I'd have to rent it multiple weeks before we were going to go so that they could wrap it, and then I'd have to get the wrap removed, which is going to cost. So it just became this crazy concept, and I was like, it would make more sense if I just bought something. And what do I do with it afterward? The idea was like, okay, if I buy it at a really good price, I could sell it at a really good price, right?
Yeah.
So the goal then became like buying a really nice bus way under the price that someone should sell it to me for. Which obviously is like, yeah, that makes sense. Anytime any of us ever want to buy anything, we wish someone would sell it to us for a number that doesn't actually make sense. Long story short, I spent probably 7 or 8 months trying to find a bus, and now we're 30 days out of the tour. We're about to leave in 30 days.
I remember on Instagram, it like wasn't that far away, and then finally I saw you had the bus. I was like, oh shit, okay.
I was freaking out, and then like everything kind of coming to a head, and it was like, all right, how do we do this? I ended up finding, no, actually it was super awkward, dude. It's a weird rabbit hole. Like I went to this rental place, then went to this guy who I had talked to at one point who told me who was trying to sell me a bus that didn't make sense. So I ended up going to his place where he told me like, no, I'm not going to sell you one of mine, but I could show you how to find one. And then went on like rvseller.com with us in the room because Sydney was with me. And he like looks up some stuff and he's like, listen, this is the one you're going to want because it's a Winnebago. Winnebago holds their value. After the tour, you could sell it back. He's like, what's your email? I'll send it to you. I'll send you a link. And he's like, actually, screw it. I'll just write the message. So he writes a message for me to this guy.
What the hell?
The guy gets back to me. Meanwhile, me and Sydney, we're like 2 hours outside of LA because to go to this rental and this guy that was selling the other bus and this one that we're trying to get a hold of is like only 30 minutes from where we are. So we're like waiting around, hoping this guy's going to message us back. Doesn't. We decide to go back to LA. We literally get to LA and the guy messaged me. He's like, yes, would you want to see it today? And we're like, I guess I'm like, so I had a real talk with him. I was like, listen, I'm trying to do this thing. It's an inspiring tour around the USA. I'm a professional parkour athlete. This is what I do, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, I think you should come see it. And I was like, well, it's this far away. I'm running out of time. Would you be able to give me a better price for it? And I started like asking him. He's like, I'll tell you what, just come look at it, and if you're happy with it, we'll talk. And I'm like, fuck, okay. So we get there, and the bus is pristine. Like, it is in the best shape of any of the buses, even the rentals, any of the other ones I looked at. And I was like, holy shit, this is it. He ends up giving it to us like, he was asking like, I don't know, $47,000 or something, or $50,000 for this bus. And I'm like, oh my God. I think I got him down to like 40,000. Which means, Jesus. And the only reason I was able to even decide I can do that was because I looked this bus up on line of what it's selling for used. And with all the things he had and the amount of miles it had on it, it was like, you could sell this for 55 or some shit like that. And I was like, bloody hell. So if I buy this bus and sell it tomorrow, I can make...
You're making money, yeah.
So that became like... I was like, screw it. It's worth it. I'll take the risk. I'm going to do it. So I'm signing the check. And I was like, all right, how do you spell your name? Da, da, da. This dude's fucking name, no joke, is David Bell.
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck?
It was spelled the same.
Literally spelled the same. I was like, yo, this universe right now is just like tripping me the fuck out. So...
Wow.
Long story short, I ended up coming home, selling the bus for, I think it was like $1,000 more than I bought it for.
Yeah.
So obviously all the wrap and the shit and the gas that we had to pay, everything that went into like still owning and operating a bus still cost me a ton of money. But at the end of the day, I pretty much got the bus for free, which is like,
yeah. And I mean, you got it, and also you got it round America full of professional athletes and didn't trash it to the degree where you wouldn't be able to sell it.
Yeah. I think
you could just imagine it getting too wild in there.
How did that happen?
Carpet start getting burnt or something.
If that was us, that would not last. It really wouldn't. Oh, no. And it would be me who breaks it back.
No, trust me, things were getting messed up inside, and I was probably the only stress I had was related to the bus.
Yeah.
Like a handle would get ripped off or something. I'd be like, oh my God. Like,
do you remember the fucking, I think it was Jason pulled the door of the fridge off the edge.
Oh yeah, completely off. We duct taped it.
The fucking door came, yeah.
We sold.
And that was a rental?
No, we bought that one too.
Oh, you bought that one too, okay. Lucky.
We did not make out on that one though. I think that was
You sold that one to a band, right?
Yeah. And what's crazy,
that's sick.
Those kids were so dope. I forget their name now, but they turned it into a portable recording studio, and they bring it to like schools, and like underprivileged kids are like now recording music inside of this bus. It's dope.
Literally just yesterday saw a video of this guy who did that around Europe. He bought an ice cream van, and for 2 years he lived in it, and he was a music engineer at university. He bought this thing, he turned it into a music studio, and he traveled Europe, and he's made an album of the best, I think, 20 street artists. So he's gone around all these cities and found homeless people who are street artists and made an album of it. And it's fucking sick. Like,
well, I hope
really cool.
I hope they're getting residuals off of it. And he's just not
yeah.
Peace, motherfucker.
Capitalizing off the back of it. So I mean, so let's talk some figures. So 50 grand on a bus, 8 grand to wrap it. How much did that thing cost to fill it up every time?
Oh, it was about, I don't know, it was like $260 or $250 for like a full tank.
And how long did that last?
I don't know, it felt like maybe 3 hours of driving.
Bloody hell. And the more people that get on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets tricky because you're like, well, we got to fill it up with water so we could use the sink and the toilet or whatever, and like the more water you put in it, the more gas it uses, the more. So, I mean.
But did people chip in for that?
No. No one chipped in. I was part of the entire experience. Like everyone I brought on tour, I actually paid like not a lot. Like I think if you were there for like a week or two, I paid an athlete like $250, or like Sydney was there for 2 months. I think I ended up paying her like maybe $1,000 or $2,000 just for like helping out and being there.
Yeah.
And really like I was able to do that because of Off the Edge. We were able to crunch. We kept all the numbers, we really like figured out what gas cost and what this cost. And like before leaving for tour, I went through and I changed all our numbers, and like I estimated our gas cost, and I think I ended up coming in like $200 like off of what I thought we were going to do. So like at the end of the day, I was just talking to Dana, who's writing for Farang Mag about the film and the tour, and she was asking me like, did you really front all this money? And I was like, well, yeah, I had sponsors come in, and a lot of like, so Yokohama, who's a tire company, they're one of my biggest sponsors right now. And their whole thing is like showing the lifestyle of different action sports athletes. And we're not all motor or car based sports. But they honestly, out of everyone, they were by far the most supportive of the entire tour, of us getting hooked up. They helped pay for the wrap in a bigger way. And like,
sick.
So Yokohama Tire, if you guys are anything, like, it's a weird thing for me because I'm like, I don't know, tire companies are weird. Like, why is a tire company sponsoring a parkour athlete? For me, it's just product association, right? It's like the same.
Yeah.
It's the same as anything. It's like, well, I don't know tire companies. If I go to put tires on my car, I might as well use the ones that are associated with the shit that I like to do. So, I think that's what I get the most. So, for me, they kind of saved my ass in terms of sponsorship and giving us a good chunk of money to go off and host all these events and film this film. But when you look at it, I got Woodward as a sponsor. I got Skydio to come in. It's just like we got some favors like Bulletproof Coffee or Upgrade Labs.
Yeah.
They came in and just gave us a ton of product, and like all of these things add up. And then
of course.
If you were to say like, oh, so were you able to pay for the entire tour through sponsors? No, but the other side of that is at the end of the day, it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to get those sponsors. So the work that went into like all the work that I did got paid for by the sponsorship money, which then I put into the tour. So when I usually answer the question like, you really paid for the entire tour, it's like, yeah, hell yeah, I did, because I didn't put any of that money in my bank account. It went right back into like making this thing happen.
Yeah. And I mean, did the majority, like, I mean, to me, I mean, you spent, what, 100, I can't even think. Oh, clearly over 50 grand on this thing, closer to 100 or something, probably, I'm reckon. Is that like it was that X-Men that sort of helped you out with there, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had probably one of my best years ever. The year the year we were gonna go on tour, and my like income comes from a lot of different places, and like it's a really hard question to answer when people ask me like, what do you do for money? Because as a professional parkour athlete, I am sponsored by a couple different companies, so there's some income there. But being a parkour athlete has gotten me the quote-unquote stunt jobs.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, being a content creator, my ability to negotiate and market has gotten me insane paid promotional jobs. And like, if there's one thing I can like offer to anyone who's listening who might get approached by a company is like, my favorite thing to do, the thing that allows me to like ask a company for the right amount of money while being approached to make them an ad or a cool parkour video, is I ask them a list of different questions. And those questions are really just, how much money do you have, in a different format. I'm going to actually pull it up right now. Screw it. Because there's really no reason why anyone in our sport shouldn't have these. So when a company approaches me and says, like, we want you to make an ad, and I'm going to throw this out here, it's by far the highest paying job I've ever been paid on a social media job. I don't like to say numbers ever, but I'm going to put this out there because I want people to know I do not have the most followers, right? I am not the best athlete in this sport. As a filmmaker, dude, I'm trying hard as hell to figure it all out, and like, I love making content, but I'm also not even close to being one of the dopest cinematographers in our sport. I got paid.
Got that hustle, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I got paid. Are you guys ready for this? For a 1 minute video across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and did I say Instagram? Shit, I'm forgetting one. And YouTube.
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
So 4 platforms, 1 minute video. For Acer computers, 2 athletes shot on 2 4K red cameras. I told them I'd give them a lighting package, an editor, a colorist, sound design, music. Meanwhile, I'm doing all of those things, obviously.
Yeah.
They paid me $65,000. It was 1.5 days of shooting.
Hell.
Christ.
And was that shooting like, because you got to shoot it yourself? You didn't have to go meet anyone. It was just you and.
So I hired Chad to come out and be my B cam when I wasn't able to operate because I was also in it. So he's kind of A cam. And then I had Bree come out, hold the bounce board and light with us, and and that was, I mean, really that was pretty much it. I hired Sydney at her a full rate or double her rate. And then I just spent all of the time making it happen. And honestly, so that sounds glorious. I will say the downfall of working for other companies is that video itself, like I pitched them. If I show you the deck, which you might actually be able to find on my website, jessicaflair.com, I think I have like a click here thing. The
cheeky
deck
plug.
Yeah. The deck I sent them has a edit that is by the second. This shot for 0.5 seconds. This shot for 2 seconds. This shot for so when they said yes to this, and this is the craziest thing, I was sitting in a bed in the desert because I was working on another film called Alpha, doubling that same actor Cody, and it was like 3 a.m. and I am writing this email, and I literally wrote like, I think I could do it for $55,000, and then I was like, screw that. I hit backspace. I hit 6, sent it. I gained $10,000 because I had enough confidence to be like, fuck it, what do I have to lose? I'll just fucking throw this in.
Yeah, exactly. They could just say fucking no. Like.
So that job in itself made that year easily the best year I've had since, I don't know, life started for me. But
yeah.
They don't come that often, and when they do, these are the questions I ask them. I always start, is it photos, videos, or both, and how many of each? Right? How much work do you want from me? If they say video, then I go into like how long of a video. Obviously, I need to do a 1 minute cut down or less. 15 seconds if you want on TikTok or any of these shorter form platforms. And then I go into like, would the content be posted across my social media? And I list it, right? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, to my 1.2 million followers. Most of your followers on most of those platforms are the same people, but building your number and stating like, not always, right? Like I only have 150,000 or whatever it is on Instagram. That doesn't equate to the YouTube ones that are not even existent anymore because they're from like 12 years ago. Anyway, will it be lifted and posted separately by their company? And that's such a simple question that might not mean anything.
Essentially, that's interesting you asked that there.
You've just got to cover all your bases so you don't get fucking screwed over, right? Like,
it's not even that. If they say, oh yes, the company will post it separately as well, all they're telling me is like, yes, we're going to pay you more. Like, because I am saying like that's worth something because I'm asking you about it, right? How produced are you looking for? We can do anything from iPhones, and I usually put in an email, I'll be like, iPhone's like a viral feel to 2-camera red package cinema setup, you know? And like using words like cinema and like knowing that you're going to shoot on prime lenses that are dope as hell. Hell yeah, that's going to upsell it. And then I go preference on one athlete or multiple athletes. If so, how many? What's the timeline? Because if you want it in a week, it's going to cost you more. And those are like the main send over questions that allow you to like tell someone else that you know what you're worth.
Yeah, I mean it conveys a sense of confidence. So it's like, oh shit, we're like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about.
I don't know, I just went on that rant for no reason.
I lost you for about 3 seconds there. What did you say?
Oh, I said I just went on a rant for no reason.
Oh, no, I mean, I don't think it was a rant. I think it's valuable.
It's very valuable. It definitely makes sense to me.
For our listeners to hear. I think I don't know if this is another one of these sort of cross the pond things, but it is that like knowing your value and actually having the confidence to pitch it seems to be far greater in the US than in the UK. Like even me, like I'm fucking terrified about pitching things. And I feel like I have a decent amount to stand on, especially given kind of my experience in filmmaking and also my position in parkour. But still, I'd like, if I had to put that into an email to try and get a job or something, I'd just be like, I'm just a guy. Like, and it's, because I kind of don't feel like I'm worth doing that.
I know what you mean.
But it's you have to, don't you? Like, because you don't fucking get the opportunities unless you do it.
But then again, it feels stupid until, like Jesse said, put 65 down and then it works.
Yeah, it's like
or 60 down.
You're like, okay,
no, maybe I did that and
the
it was
second
right.
they say yes, you're like, yeah, I'm a fucking bad man.
Yeah,
yeah. But I met a producer once that was talking to me about some stuff, and we got into a conversation about money and social media and whatever. And he's like, listen, I pay people what they tell me they're worth. And it was just like this realization where like, if you tell this guy that you will do that job for $500 a day, that's what that guy is going to, he's not going to be like, nah, I'll give you $1,500. There's literally no reason for him to tell you he's going to pay you more than you're asking for. It makes a lot more sense where, yes, I will tell you right now that I've outbid myself on multiple jobs. I am like, oh, that'll be this much. Or like, oh, I could do it, but it'd be this much. And like, whether it's like 3,000, like, and literally most of the time I'm not pitching that high. It was all of the things that added up to that moment that allowed me to realize through those questions and the conversations we had that these guys are willing to go in right now. It was a commercial that they were talking about airing on TV and like doing this shit. And like, I was like, in a bigger, if you went to a production company, they'd probably ask him for 100,000 and like, or more, right? Or like, you know, some commercials are fucking $1 million to produce. We through this sport, right? And I'm just going to transition here into this conversation I tend to have with a lot of people is like, when we talk about parkour, I like to reference it like hip hop. Hip hop is not just rap. It's not just turntable. It's not just breakdancing. It's not just graffiti. It's all of those things, right? It's an entire culture around this feeling. And when I talk about parkour to people who don't understand it, I tend to tell them that it's not just movement. The sport itself came through because of social media. You know, when YouTube dropped in, I think 2007 or whatever it was, like and even before that, right? The forums, all that. But like video has always been such a part of the growth of what we do that inevitably,
it's intrinsic, like they have just grown together.
Yeah, and it's been even more interesting to see athletes become incredible filmmakers because out of necessity, but also because of like the idea of like what we do needing to be captured in a specific way to really tell the story of movement. And like that's right now one of my biggest passions is that, you know, even in my style of movement, I've started creating lines very specifically for filming with a gimbal because I really like this wild, like in your face, look at my feet touching this fucking tiny screw off of this thing. And then like, but like, how do we make this thing that like, honestly, most of the lines that I've done in the last year, if it was shot on a wide, I would look so goddamn whack. And like the stuff I'm doing just will not translate. And it's like, but for me, I'm showing you the technicalities of what's interesting me, like in that particular moment, and then connecting a bunch of those intrinsic little details into a line that at the end of the day, when I finally get it, because it takes me a bunch of tries, is like this very rewarding feeling.
Yeah.
So like,
no, I get that. And you touch on that in the film, don't you? Like there's a line you shoot with Sydney and Flint on the gimbal that's just like kind of I guess it's not crazy technical compared to the stuff that you're talking about, but it's a prime example of like that gimbal style of filming. Yeah,
and I think what's more important for me about that one clip and just the film in general. So the film, if I explain it to people, is like it's meta. It's meta as fuck, which means it is a film about making it the film. Like it's this weird documentary about the experience of doing the experience. And in that clip, what I ended up doing is I think I either drop out the music and I show you this like really wide shot of me shooting Sydney's line and running with the gimbal and like just like whatever it is, stride, pre, drop down, and you see the whole thing and it feels very like, okay, that's kind of whack. And then it cuts back into the music and the actual shot that you just watched me shoot. And I think what's cool about that is from an outside perspective. And again, like I made this film for our community, but I also wanted it to translate to a wider audience so that I can show them and teach them what this sport is actually all about from the inside perspective, right? But outside of filming unique lines or having someone film my lines, I'm having a really fun time literally filming with the gimbal because I feel like it's the most genuine parkour experience that I've been able to achieve recently. Because, you know, Sydney will go do a line and you naturally have to like stride over. Like the biggest compliment I get right now is like, wait, how did the cameraman do that? Right? Because you're like moving through this environment in such a unique way and like relying on your parkour senses to like do rail strides while filming. And you're like, that's fucking dope. Like I can't.
Well, it's relatable to like how skaters skate while filming because it's like you're both doing the same sport at the same time, except someone's holding the camera and it's not like cutting out the movement at all. You're not just thinking about cinematography. You're actually thinking about how can I make the line look cool? Yeah. Not the shot, which I hate so much when people think about the shot so much that they just want it to look beautiful and you can't actually see the movement.
Yeah. Well, parkour is dynamic and therefore the filming typically, like, it doesn't have to be dynamic, but it just seems to complement it so well when the filming is dynamic and it just works well with the movement. So we literally, we were shooting in London last week and we had Johnston with a full-blown like Ronin S with a GH5 on it, striding walls, like chasing Keelan across gaps. And
he fell over on the last
falling over on one of the things. Yeah. But yeah, it's cool shit.
Yeah, it was dope. Yeah, I just listened to the last podcast you guys did.
Yeah, sick.
It was fun.
But so the film is out in a week, right? 14th.
Yeah, the 14th. I'm super excited. I wanted to do a tour with this film, and I'm still kind of thinking about it. Like maybe I might just do these pop-up screenings, like even if people had already seen the film, like fuck it, let's go jam out and then watch the film together again, you know, like But the original idea was like I would have loved to go to multiple cities, like whether it's 4 or 5 of our biggest events from the tour and show them the film before anyone else and do a Q&A and just chat about it. But
anything like that is still a fucking huge undertaking.
I know, yeah. It's definitely like, oh man, I'm just
gotta rent the cinema.
Yeah, part of me is just
basically
tired.
Doing another tour again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally is. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. For me, I'm just excited for people to see it. It was such a huge undertaking. The entire filmmaking process was done by myself and George. Chania, who was our cameraman on tour, did most of anything red. I pretty much was shooting, but he was like kind of our A cam, B cam, just running and shooting the entire process.
I mean, when I was there, even for the sort of 48 hours that I was on board, he was just the like, I don't know. I when I work on projects like that, it's so nice to have someone who is basically shooting all the time because you know nothing's being missed, and like that was what he was just fully on.
But what's the downside of that, Giles?
Is the amount of footage.
The amount of footage is insane. Like we have, and I think that's why the decision also helped to decide like this isn't about the events. If we tried to do a film that had every event in it, we would have left so much stuff out. We would have cut out so many local athletes that should have been featured. So for me, I didn't want to like create this half-ass version of what people expected me to create. Instead, I wanted to create the best version of the thing I wanted to create. And that's what Bound by Movement really is. And hopefully the Lace Up Tour film that comes along with it will appease anyone who wants to relive their experience on tour and get a sense of, or if they weren't there, to get to experience what they missed out on, and hopefully inspired to create their own events.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't spoken about the shoe much, but I mean, to anyone listening to this, by the time, I know this podcast will come out before next week, we're dropping a sort of full-length review of the shoe, along with, I actually sat down with Jesse a couple of weeks ago, and I basically called him up because I wanted to get some thoughts. Well, not even thoughts. There were a few things that you wanted to convey regarding the shoe, and we ended up speaking for like an hour and a half, and I happened to just hit record on my laptop and held my phone on loudspeaker up to the thing so I could record it. I then transcribed that whole thing. So alongside the review, there's an interview going online that, I mean, we talk about some really fucking cool shit regarding that shoe. Like the level of detail and thought that went into the production behind it is just outstanding. So in less than a week, that'll be online. But yeah, I mean, it's how is shoe life?
It's not. This probably sounds more unbelievable than it might be, but I haven't asked Tempest at all how shoe sales are going. Like the process of like creating the shoe and ending up with a product that I absolutely love. Like honestly, like 100%, no lie. This is my favorite shoe I've ever worn. It's the most comfortable shoe. It's light as fuck. It does exactly what I needed to do while training. And it's the same shoe that I wore on the red carpet to the X-Men film premiere because I think it looks dope as shit. So that's my plug for the shoe. But in terms of like, maybe at the end of the year, I'll be like, so am I going to get any money from this shoe? Or like, how'd we do? Did we sell out? Or, like, Then I might find out. But like, I'm not like asking them every week being like, yo, how many pairs did we sell? I'm just excited that we did something that we achieved something that I think was the goal, and we created something special. Sure. And I can only hope that it sells enough for us to go even further in that process. And I feel like that's kind of an overall theme that we're seeing in everything that I'm producing, right? It is the progression. Like this is, and maybe it's sad because I'm not living in the celebratory like moment of like, yeah, I fucking made a shoe with my name on it, right? I'm like, how do we make another one? How do we make a bigger tour? If this film does well, I'm like, all right, how do I get this film into like, I don't know, film festivals that are getting awards and a bunch of people that are seeing it that don't have anything to do with the sport? Like, it's like, it's always what's next? How do we make it bigger? And like, there is some like sadness in the fact that we can't live in the moment and just be happy with what we got. But I'm extremely happy, but I'm also someone who wants to push it. And like, I'm in a position where I should be pushing it because, you know, like Nicholas Hoult kind of said, is like, I might not have that big of a platform, but my life has been good enough where I can throw money out to buy a tour bus just enough to sell it back. You know, like most people couldn't even dream of dropping that money, just even if they were guaranteed to be able to sell it back 2 months later. So for me, I don't know, I think it's just about the progression of it all, and I hope that we can continue to push that thing. And I think this film is another step for me to go, okay, not everyone needs to compete. Not everyone wants to compete. In every other big action sport, there are tons of athletes that are living off of their video parts and able to travel and film and just do the thing they love while someone else is capturing it and paying for them to be there. And so that's what this is. It's just another platform for visibility so sponsors can get behind us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think, I mean, we spoke about it when we spoke a few weeks ago, but it is that, like, there's the hardest thing is going first, and that's what you are sort of so good at, or it maybe not, you're not even good at it, but you just do it anyway. Like, you are just so driven to be that kind of the person who's just pushing forward. And I mean, the tours are a prime example, and I said this to you when we spoke, like, it's going to be years to 5 years to a decade before sort of other people are doing big tour, like something to the scale of the Lace Up Tour with a bus that size, that many days, etc. Like, it's when who's going to do that next, and whoever does is going to go, holy shit, that was a big undertaking. And only in like 10 years time, when probably a few other tours of that scale have happened, will more people start to appreciate how hard you pushed it so early on. And it's like, you might not get as much gratitude now as you kind of deserve, but I think it's just that it's the long game.
Let anyone else do this?
I mean, yeah, like I don't see why.
We did a similar thing, but not to that.
I mean, I have no, like, I aspire to do a Lace Up Tour of our own of that size. It's just That'd like, it's not happening now.
Yeah, it's just,
I mean, the goal is never to have people try to do this again the way I did it. Like, the goal is to give this example of, like, look, like, if people are not using the stuff that we created for the tour as their own way of, like, getting sponsors to come on for their tour and market, like, that's idiotic. Like, the entire
like, your goal is to make it easier for everyone else, right?
Exactly. And that's like, this is the same shit with Air Whip. Like, to have a competition that big, yes, use pictures from Air Whip to show people, like, look,
exactly,
3,000 people filled a stadium where there's fireballs shooting out of the ground, and these athletes are just doing the world's most insane shit. Like, that's why that exists. And if you don't do it, then it actually underplays all the work that they put into making it happen. So
yeah, for sure.
I mean, dude, if anyone wants to reach out, like, if you're trying to do this, if you're trying to figure out numbers, I have spreadsheets on everything we fucking paid for, and, like, down to the, I don't know, toilet paper and Windex. That's not true, because there was no shitting on the bus, so the only one that should have been using toilet paper was Sydney, maybe, but
yeah, that was the golden rule, wasn't it?
Yeah. What, no shitting on the bus?
I remember finding out that we had bottles of whiskey and stuff in the bathroom cabinet, and occasionally Jesse, when he wasn't on driving duty on Off the Edge, would just sit in the bathroom and have a little swig occasionally.
Oh no, I wouldn't just have a swig. I'd just sit down there in my own personal space and just drink.
Yeah, it's like the only way you could get away. I'm gonna lock myself in this tiny, smelly little room and just have a little drink.
It's a weird thing. I mean, that's an interesting, like, subject in itself. Is like, there's
drinking in a
no
Winnebago toilet.
No, most just like personal time. Like,
oh yeah.
There's this, like, when you are in charge of it all, and when you're able to let go, and the only time you're able to let go is when you get to the event where. Yeah. You're now surrounded by everyone that you need to be entertaining, in a sense, right? Like,
and you've just promoted. Yeah. You're like, oh wait, this is the thing that everyone wants to come and see me. Like,
yeah. There's not a lot of downtime. So like,
yeah,
while on tour, there's always this weird like moment of like, just like walking alone for a minute feels so good.
yeah, for sure.
But then the second you get home from tour, you're like, where is everyone?
Totally.
Where are my friends? I'm so lonely.
Yeah, I love my like alone time, but it has to be a very short stint, and like I need it. Like, I mean, even just coming off the back of Soul Destroyer, like
I felt lost after Soul Destroyer, and it was only like a week or something, wasn't it?
Well, it was 10 days, but like
but it was like I got home and I was like, what do I do now?
We did this huge house in London that I rented, and that was like that kind of stress of like, okay, don't fuck up the Airbnb, and like the rules that this host had written were like super strict, and we actually ended up like speaking to him a few times, and he seemed way more chill than the rules had made out, which was fine. But then like all the guys then came back to the house, like our house, and stayed here for a couple of days, and by the end of that I was like, please just leave, like I just want a day alone with Sarah. And then like I had a couple of days with her, and then after that I was like, cool, when are we doing the next thing? Like, where are people at? Like, you just
Charles,
it's the little stints.
I am not envious of you and your Motus boys. Like,
oh, they're far better than they used to be.
They're only all story I heard about the last house that you rented was while cleaning up, they're just smashing eggs on the ground and making ape sounds with each other. So
that wasn't. I didn't mean it.
You know,
if that's what cleaning up looks like, I don't know what what partying looks like.
Yeah. Oh, we got videos of partying. That's a
I just miss it all.
Conversation for a different day. Oh, I do miss you, Jesse. We've had some fucking fantastic times over the years. I think I feel like we should sort of wrap this up soonish, but I think something that I've always stayed so true with you is that whenever I hear people kind of like chatting a bit of shit, and like you said, I think the hate train has slowed down, but I've been in conversations in the past where I've sort of heard people being like, fuck him, he's cheesy, he's corny and things. And I've always been adamant that like, if you were in the room, you would be the most entertaining person, just because you're... And I think this is why when I see people like disliking your persona, or even maybe when I see you doing like a stint of your persona on social media, and I look at it and I'm like, that's not the real Jesse. Like, the real Jesse's fucking this wild, crazy guy, like, who's fucking sick and cares about everyone kind of thing. And I wish everyone knew you as well as I know you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm a pretty weird, bipolarish, dynamic personality. I can either tell like the cheesiest joke that no one laughs at because it's so cheesy, or like the most shock factor, disgusting thing that you would never laugh at. So it's a bit weird, but I think at the core of it, I'm just a dude that's trying to have some fun in life, entertain people.
Yeah. And I think you do that very well.
Yeah. I mean,
very, very
well. I should have painted this picture at the beginning of this podcast, but the entire time we've been doing this, I'm sitting in a weirdly half-carpeted attic in my new house. I drank a cocktail called The Last Word, which is a very, very strong drink that I made myself here.
Good, yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what's going on in this attic because I just moved into this house and there's really weird shit going on. Like, there's an extension cord coming out of the wall that I plugged in and I don't know what it turns on. Not only that, there's like one of those cop siren loudspeaker, like tweeter speakers that you could like do a PA system on facing.
Oh, really?
Facing outside of like the like attic screen where no one else could see where this sound was coming from. So whoever lived here must have like maybe just screamed random shit. I don't know what's going on.
What the hell? Wow. I mean, okay, let's talk. I mean, let's briefly talk house. What are we talking? What's your neighborhood like?
Dude, I'm in a place called Mission Viejo now. It's really chill. It's like super suburbs.
So you've got some crazy person who used to live there and just scream at like the postman or something.
You know what? He's like this crazy audio-visual guy. Like, if you look up pictures from like the I guess the woman who bought it, who I'm renting from, the guy that she bought it from used to have like this insane projector surround sound system in his like in the living room. The living room's not that big, which is insane. But like insane. I like that. Let's just use that. Insane. It's a strong cocktail, I'm telling you. No, but there's like HDMI cables like going through every wall. There's like speaker cables going through every wall, but I have no idea where it all goes and why it's like a plug. Like they're just everywhere. So it's
you want to be looking out for some fucking hidden cameras.
I know. No, I literally I went on my Bluetooth earlier because I was trying to get my Wi-Fi to work, and I was looking at this thing, and so I turned on my Bluetooth, and it had like 4 different GoPros on the Bluetooth, and I was like, oh shit. And then I realized
shower cam.
I was like, oh shit, no, those are just like my other GoPros I've done on my own Bluetooth, and they're not on right now. But I was like, I got nervous for a second. I was like, damn, this shit's sketchy.
Who's watching me?
Yeah. But no, it's a beautiful house.
Sick.
It's like way cheaper than anything I could have ever found in LA, and that's why we moved out here. But
I mean, wait, actually the important question, have you got a garden for Morgan?
It's we have like there's a cement patio that wraps around the entire side, back, and other side of the house, and one of the sides has like kind of weeds and it's almost grass. So yeah, he's got plenty of time, plenty of room. He grew up, I mean, that dog, the reason why we're in this house was pretty much because I wanted him to have a yard before he dies, because he grew up in a basement apartment in New York City that we spent 3 or 4 years in, and then lived in the same apartment for the last 9 years with no yard. So he's sitting in the sun enjoying himself. I'm stoked.
Amazing. Good to hear. I miss that dog. So, so when's the baby due?
Baby is due in November. So November, I think the rough day is like November 15th, something like that.
Damn. Crazy. Have you been speaking to Philip much?
No, not that much. Philip always just sends me a random insane message, and then like I won't hear from him.
Yeah. I mean, that's standard. Philip is a screaming video message.
I saw that.
Music.
I saw that you guys sent him a Motus. A Motus baby.
Yeah, Sarah made the second he was born. Sarah just made one up and posted it out there.
That's so good.
But I think he's loving dad life, so I'm sure you'll love it too. As much as sleep deprivation is never fun.
Yeah, I mean, the scariest challenge is the fact that money doesn't come from. Can you hear me?
We lost you for a brief second there.
Yeah, I was saying the scariest challenge about the baby is just really like, I'm not getting a day job still, you know?
Yeah.
And I've gotten 2 pieces of information about babies that were kind of exciting to me. One was from Gabe Nunez, who has Naya, who's already becoming like this dope little girl. Yeah. And him and Nahid were like, yo, bro, she came into our life. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then this ex-NFL player, I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, we sat down at a bar in Dallas and we were talking, and he was like, I was telling him, this was before I knew we were pregnant and stuff, but I was like, yeah, my biggest fear is like having a kid, like all of my dreams will go away, and that my goal now is going to be to make his or her dream the reality, right? And like, he's like, yeah, that's what I thought too. And then the second I had my first kid, I realized that my goals were supercharged, and I had no other choice but to achieve those goals. So I think little piece of information probably was one of like the most exciting things I've ever heard a parent say, versus like, you're not going to sleep, you're going to be stressed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, that's
your
dope.
life is over.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I mean, you can imagine like, shit, you're right. I don't have a choice now. It's not just about me anymore. Like I need to do this shit. Whatever tools I've built up over the years, like I need to put those into play and make things happen.
I mean, fucking hell, if you've already done this much so far, what are you going to be like when you got a fucking kid? You're going to be triple time.
I guess you'll see.
Yeah. I mean, have you got any big plans future-wise, or are you kind of, what's the rest of this year saying aside from, bringing new life into the world?
I think I'm in like a very interesting like transitional state where I really am trying to figure out like, what do I want to do next? I mean, this film was my first baby this year. Like it is like it, the amount of years spent making the tour and then filming and then editing and the whole process that went into it. Like after this is released, no matter how it does, it is like, all right, what is my next parkour project, right? Because inevitably I'm not done with movement. There was like a moment where I stopped training for like probably just because working on the film, like not actually going out and training, like 3 weeks. Like, I don't know, it just kept turning into longer and longer, and like I'd go out and do like a day or two of training, but I don't really count it, right? And then all of a sudden, like, I started training again. I was like, fuck, man, I need this. Like, I'm realizing emotionally and physically, like, I can't not train still. And it's not something that I'm ready to, like, not be an athlete for. So I'm still doing that. I think my interest in terms of what my style looks like is probably going to continue to shift and transition. But in terms of projects, you know, me and Corey a while ago announced PFL and that we were trying to do the Pro Free Run League.
I forgot about that. I was meaning to ask about that.
We are still pretty deep. Like, we invested a lot of money into technology and building a website, and that allows us to track competitions real time and do some interesting things through like Instagram competitions. And because he started transitioning more into the stunt world, and he became almost a sought after stunt coordinator now, who like it's kind of incredible to watch his journey. But I think he's producing this show right now, these like wrestling.
The wrestling thing,
is insane, and it's called Rogue Wrestling. Yeah. It's like, go check it out. Like, it's they're getting looked at by major networks, and like they've gotten some of the top like wrestlers involved, and so he's kind of using everything that he's learning from parkour and then film, and then transitioning into this space where like he knows there's an audience and all this stuff. So we started talking again, me, him, Lucy, Gabe, Rich, even Victor. We're like, all right, the whole FIG thing is, Tempest doesn't believe in it. We have Tempest athletes that are going out and competing in it. We understand that people need to do what they need to do, and we're not going to stop them from doing what they believe. But at the end of the day, what we can't do is sit back and just like talk shit, because we're seeing right now, everyone who sat back and talked shit that didn't do anything to counter it is now going like, well, I guess there's nothing else to do. I'll go compete as well. And like, it's the saddest reality is that if people just started their own projects instead of talking shit for as long as they did, they'd already have something that
took action, basically.
That the community would have been behind. Because at the end of the day, if any of us do anything, I have complete faith that there's enough community that's going to show up and support the things that you're doing.
Because we're so fucking strong anyway.
Yeah. And we're hungry for it. You know, like Hendo going over and fucking competing, right? Like that's some drama. But at the end of the day, like, I know that he still doesn't want to. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that that's not like, if he had another legit option, he wouldn't have went over. It's not that he changed his mind completely. He just doesn't have other options. So like, it's important for other people to start creating options. And then when we do, support that. And that's why, like, you know, everyone that came out to the tour, to the events, it's huge. Anyone that buys the film it's all it does is it creates more opportunity for us to continue to put this in motion, because it allows me to go shoot another film. You know, I already told the guys, like, everyone that was on tour, I gave them an early screener of the film, and they were so stoked. They're like, let's go back. And I was like, yeah, let's go back. You know, like, but at the end of the day, if this film fucking blew up, and like let's not even say blew up. If 50% of our community showed up and bought the film and like actually supported the idea of it, even if, I don't know, they were like, I don't use Vimeo, or I don't want to download it. Why would I have this film forever? I don't know if I'm going to even like it. Like, dude, show up, buy the film, support it. Because at the end of the day, if this thing makes enough money, there's absolutely no possible way that I'm not doing another tour and making another film. Like, it's gonna, it's inevitable, because all you're going to do is tell me like, oh, your efforts were worth it, and here you go. And like,
the thing that's so frustrating about the parkour community is, and it's probably just general, like, I think social media, it's so easy to like a photo, it's so easy to write a comment saying, oh, I support this, and then it's actually people like putting their money or their time where their mouth is so little compared to to what they say, and that's always. And then like obviously if you legitimately have no money and like you don't know where your next meal is coming from, then no one's going to expect you to go out and fucking buy Jesse's film. But like if you genuinely want to support growth within the sport, then like you need to be putting money into these things, like into the stuff that people and these companies are actually putting out, rather than just going like, oh yeah, this is sick, like great, wow, you fucking wrote 5 words on Instagram, like that doesn't mean fuck all in the grand scheme of things.
And like, I mean, again, yes, I've been fortunate enough to like stay afloat, especially within the last few years of being in Hollywood. I think a lot of people, if they had known my earlier story, like I don't know, 3 or 4 years even into being at LA, I would think I was like $40,000 in debt because I just kept believing that I could do it. I just kept running up credit cards and fucking trying to make it happen. But But even like where I am now, right? Like, you know, when Store was in town, I bought movie tickets for everyone that was in my group. Like, dude, you didn't need to buy tickets. And I was like, yeah, fuckers, I did. Because like at the end of the day,
like, I want to
me buying this ticket is only helping you continue to make the dope ass shit that I know that you just made, and that is going to translate beyond our sport and make us all more credible. So like for me, always, you know, I love free merch. Yeah. It's cool, thank you. But if you're doing something dope, like I want to buy something from you, and if I can do that, right? Like, yes, I'm going to do it because it's important.
Yeah, for sure. I just burped completely. I mean, the real most important topic of this podcast is one that I don't know if we should even bother running in this episode, because I feel horrifically underprepared. What do you...
Oh, you idiot.
I mean, we normally do Music Minute, where we each spaff for a minute about the artist that we are most passionate about this week. But I would be quite happy to give that section away to just a final wrap-up promotion of Bound by Movement, if that is what you would prefer to do. Mainly because I don't have an artist. I haven't thought about it, so I don't want to be the shit one this week.
Yeah, but that happens to me quite a lot, and then you still go and do it. I don't have a say, do I?
Well, it depends on Jesse. Jesse might have someone.
I got 2.
Oh fuck.
So I'll use yours for you.
No. If you're doing one, then I've got to do one. Like,
hey, go on, off the top of your head. Don't go on your phone.
I was about to go on my phone and look up a fucking artist. All right, well, I mean, Jesse, if you've got 2, then you're going first.
Oh, I mean, I have...
But it's got to...
The thing is, you're talking like full artists. I have like... There's like a few songs that I'm like really into right now. One is actually like... You know, I'm going to skip that one. Want. One of them has like really like negative lyrics.
Wait, hold up. Are we starting? Because it's all about... I mean, we've got to get this down to a full minute.
Oh,
so.
It's a full minute.
Music minute. It's actually
it's a music minute. We count this thing in. You
have to put stress on it.
Yeah.
But what do you talk about for a minute?
Well, that's the challenge.
It is hard. Challenge. Not gonna lie.
I mean, you can obviously breathe, but come on, like it's got to be like you got 10 seconds. We'll count you in. Where you go? Okay.
But 8, I get a full minute, or I only get 10 seconds.
6. You get a full minute.
Full minute.
4, 3, 2.
Wait, am I going?
1. Go. You're going now.
Just go.
All right, sad ass song. It's got weird, sad lyrics. It's called "Where We Go." This dude's got no followers. There's only like 200,000 plays on his SoundCloud of this one song called "Where We Go." You spell his name. I don't even know how to say it. It's JELANIARYEH. Go check it out. There's another dope ass song called "Chasing Rabbits" featuring Merciless. I don't know. It's by Easy Mac. It's got a really dope 1970s sample in it. I don't know. I've been vibing out on it real hard. And then there's this band called Tank and the Bangers. Tank and the Bangers. I saw them at the Shorty Awards. I was nominated for TikToker of the Year. They performed live, and there's this really heavy black chick. They're super jazzy, but like, dude, she has like 7 or 8 different voices that she sings and performs in. So I would definitely show up, go check out the SoundCloud, go through all the songs, because there's a couple of them that will just like, that are so weird and like...
And you are out of time. That was good though. That was impressive.
Jesus, that was good, especially for a first time music
flow.
Minute.
Yeah. I liked it. I mean, you kind of bought yourself some time there by spelling out the guy's name. You're like, oh yeah, it's called the Beatles, the THE.
THE.
Oh Christ!
Are you? Have you got it?
I don't really know. There's one band that it's just the band that I just have failed to mention because I've always thought you were going to mention them. But I mean,
really? Oh
yeah.
But I can do it. No, I kind of have someone, but
all right. No, Keelan's up there. Go on. All
Wait,
right.
what? Oh, so
you can go. I'll follow it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With someone else.
Obviously. Hopefully, I'll see what you say.
All right, we'll wait for a...
We'll go for a round minute. You got 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very good, Jesse. I'm impressed.
It's not going to...
People actually really like this section as well. All right, you got 2 seconds.
I don't know how they like it.
1 and go.
Okay, so I've been listening to, the past week, an album called Drone Logic by Daniel Avery, I think it is. This is super last minute, but it's someone who my dad... again got me into after he's going to a festival, Glastonbury.
That small festival, yeah.
Yeah. No. And basically it's just like, it's new sort of electro dance music, but just all of the sounds used just sounds like it was made like 10, 20 years ago. And it just, I don't know, something about it mixing, they mix different sounds repetitively, which kind of sounds boring, but it just kind of puts me in a trance, like every fucking thing I mention. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think you should check out Drone Logic on Spotify and listen to it from front to back, and just like listen to all the details when it merges into each song and whatever.
Time.
You fucking bastard!
All right.
Oh my gosh, I hate being so unprepared.
Yeah, I feel fucked. Normally I'm so confident.
I am if I know.
Normally I'm so passionate and I'm like, yeah, I've slayed this, and then you get all the nice Instagram comments and people are like, oh my god, you've just introduced me to the best band in the world, and I'm like, yeah, my music tastes amazing.
But you don't.
But yeah, this time around not so much, but I'll go in right now. All right, I'm going to talk about, I literally just picked this 2 seconds ago, Dermot Kennedy, who is not actually that unknown, I don't think, but at the same time I think he is. He has an amazing video. If you go and look at the Colours YouTube channel, which has these, like, they choose solo artists and they
I know Colours,
yeah, and they choose solo artists and they do one song. But this guy Dermot Kennedy, he's Irish, but I don't know if he's a sort of New York, Boston Irish, or if he's Irish. Incredible voice, kind of I mean, what is it? It's like, it's poppy, it's soulful, it's electronic. He's just got a beautiful voice. He does covers of Drake songs and stuff like this. And yeah, one of my favorite artists to just like put on and chill to. Super, super nice stuff. All right, I've finished early. Go on.
10
Kennedy,
seconds to make noises.
Kennedy.
Go on.
Make noises. I can't even think of some of his songs off the top of my head. Keelan, sorry, Jesse, I'm just going to rant at Keelan for a second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I listened to your playlist. On the Motus website, we have this thing we do once a month called Music on My Mind, where each athlete puts together a playlist. If you haven't checked it out, you should. Keelan put together his this month, and I went through it. And on there were many of the bands that you've mentioned in Music Minute.
Yeah.
And my biggest criticism of what you say in Music Minute is you normally go, oh, it's a collection of just noises and sounds.
I know, I say it so much.
I listened to Orbital, right? That song, Fuck You. No.
It is Fuck You, but
it's spelled weirdly.
It's Please Help UK Urgent.
Banging song.
Yeah, I know, I really like it.
And then I listened to more Orbital and I was like, this is all really fucking good. But when you said it in Music Minute, I was like...
Yeah, it's because they don't, like, artists like that, they don't stick to one sort of theme.
But you always say like, oh, it's a load of sounds.
Yeah, probably because I don't have fucking faith in I don't really want to promote music at the same time. Well, I do, but it's kind of like...
You should, if you're into a sort of electronic synthy music with cool samples and stuff like that, like Orbital are banging from what I've heard.
And they're only from the next village over.
Yeah, and they live near Keelan. Anyway, back to the man of the hour. I feel like we should wrap it up. This is verging on 2 hours.
Jesus.
Whoa. Is this longest podcast on the Motus Podcast?
Maybe, yeah. Jesse's cocktail's worn off. He's ready for another one. What are you doing this afternoon? Are you unpacking more boxes?
Yep. Still just unpacking.
Yeah. You got much like renovating and stuff to do, or is it kind of just putting things in places?
Yeah, just putting things. I mean, honestly, we were in like a pretty small 1-bedroom apartment. Now we're in a 3-bedroom house. I miss
that place.
Like shit.
Oh, you'll be surprised how quickly you fill it up, though. Yeah,
no, for sure. And then it's suddenly weird. Like, there's not a single closet downstairs, and we're like, what? What do we do with all our stuff?
Oh, really? We're the opposite. The flat we used to live in had literally there wasn't a cupboard. There was no storage. Everything, like, we had to, like, have our own cupboards. And then we moved here, and there's just, like, holes in walls where we can put things, cupboards under the stairs. And it's fucking amazing.
It is massive.
I'm going to miss your flat, though. I love that place.
Yeah, many of people have stayed there.
Oh, it cut out there. What'd you say?
I said many of people have stayed there.
I know, yeah. I think there's certain little pockets around the world of like places where people and like common sort of parkour athletes move through and they end up staying in places. And it's like Brandon's in Colorado is one, Anand's is one. I think your house has definitely been like it to a degree. And I think people create memories at like other people's houses.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, when I was at Kai's house, I stuck stickers behind like random shit that he probably still hasn't found. Like I took I remember his clock off his wall.
No, that was my house.
I do it all the time.
You did it to my clock, right? And the day you left, so you did it, and then the next day the clocks changed. So you were like, haha, he'll never find this. And I was like, oh, the clocks have changed. I took the clock off the wall to change it. I was like, oh, there's a sticker here.
That's shitty.
I Sherlock Holmes'd you.
There's more. I'm sure.
It out. There probably are.
I honestly,
not as bad as what we did.
I always wish that we could host more people, but my dog's such a dick. In the other place, we had no room to like put him anywhere.
Yeah.
But with this house, it'll be a little bit easier for sure.
Yeah.
He'll just stay outside, or he'll just stay upstairs.
Well, I'll be flying through in fucking, I don't know, next week. I'll just appear.
But he likes you. He'll be stoked to see you.
He loves me. Yeah, I miss him. Anyway, this is too personal for the listeners. we should wrap this thing up so we can go to bed and you can continue helping out your darling wife.
Yeah, my pregnant wife who's just unpacking without me for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, doing all the heavy lifting.
Thanks, guys.
Like, oh, bro, yeah, that one over there. Yes. So, Bound by Movement, June 14th. Releasing across Vimeo, iTunes, everything else, right?
Yeah, it's all digital platforms. So, honestly, like if you have I'm trying to get as many people to Vimeo as possible because that's where you can get the double feature, as well as it's the best deal I have with Extreme, who's our sort of aggregator or
basically if you want Jesse to actually get some money in his pocket, go and buy it on Vimeo.
Buy it on Vimeo. But if
let's be honest here.
If you're super lazy and you have an Apple TV, you literally can just say into your remote right now, like, show me a documentary called Bound by Movement, and it'll bring it right up for you. You don't even have to go find it.
Amazing. That's Apple TV 2, right? Because I've only got the first one.
Yeah,
that confused me.
I need to get that second one.
Otherwise, I guess you could just search it, right?
The amount of time I spend searching for films that aren't actually on the thing, and then you fucking have to use that shitty little keyboard and the little scroll wheel, and you're like, fuck this.
So then I advise you to upgrade your life because it's so much easier.
But do I have to put on an American accent to make it work?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hold mine up to the speaker right now. Give it a go.
All right.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Search for Bound by Movement.
I'm in an attic. There's no fucking TV up here.
Like you haven't even.
I got confused. I was thinking that. I was like,
Lorien.
That was great. Good job, though, Giles. Appreciate it.
I should have done more of my American accent. Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
I love Callum's American accent. It's like super cowboy.
It's outstanding. Yeah. It's like, hey there, Cletus. Get down from the roof.
Oh, shit.
All right.
Yeah, go buy the film. Show some love.
Yes.
Let's keep those
1
wheels
week
turning.
Today. Buy some fucking shoes. Buy the film. Shoe review coming out in less than a week. And fucking well done, Jesse. You're killing it.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, thanks for the love.
No worries. What we're going to do is we're going to end the podcast and then we'll actually say bye personally on the phone. So,
bye.
All right. Bye. Love you.
Later.